Hey guys, this is National Master Kevin Yang back at it with another video. So this one is my second game against Kat2007. Let's get started. D4 F5, and immediately I bring out what is called the Dutch defense. The Dutch being, we're going to play F5, get the knight out to F6, maybe go for G6 and bishop G7 and castles. So that way this pawn will be in front instead of being here on F7. But the Dutch defense does have its own weaknesses. So for example, the E5 square is permanently weak, but the good thing is we control E4. So at the same time, there's good things, but there's also bad things. So in the game, Kat2007 plays the move F3. And I was thinking about E6 to say, okay, Kat, do you want to play E4? I'll take, and if you take, I'll play queen to h4. Remember that from last time? Sometimes that appears, so f3 is usually, I don't know, it's not a move that I would consider at the start of the game, because you would need to bring your knight out to get your pawn here, but I guess it's okay. So knight f6, knight c3, and now d5. So for now, I'm preventing our friend Kat2007 from being able to push e4. Bishop f4. Now what I would have done is I would have played bishop to g5, and I would have said, I'm going to threaten taking on f6 and playing e4, trying to create the central break. Bishop f4 is just as good, controlling the e5 weakness, because now I've permanently decided to weaken e5, and I said I'm all focused on the e4 square. So after e6, e3, and here I play knight h5, and the reason is because I sort of think, this knight should do its part in eliminating this sort of powerful bishop. I think the bishop does a great job of controlling these squares, but at the same time, when you look at a position like this, with the knight on h5, and you say, okay, well, if the bishop goes back to g3, I will take and probably play something like queen to g5. But if you play bishop to e5, I'll just move my knight to c6 and scare that bishop away. And if you don't move anywhere, well, I'm going to make your pawn structure look pretty bad. So I said, you know what, Kat, it's your choice. Bishop to e5, knight to c6, just saying, I want to eliminate this bishop. I think it's powerful. Let me do my job. And here, Kat has this move bishop to b5, which obviously is a consideration because it pins the knight from being able to take the bishop. So I would have to then think about something like bishop d6 and castles and just try to play it out from there. So I would have played bishop b5 in this situation, but f4 happened, and it's a good move as well. So first of all, I played the move knight takes e5. And here, Kat had two options, or three options. Queen takes this knight with check, but then I would play knight to f7, right? Pawn takes e5, and this knight is on the corner. Pawn takes e5, this knight is on the corner. So our friend Kat went pawn takes e5, and here I played queen to h4, thinking, if g3 happens, I'm going to take on g3. I'm going to set the pin on this h1 undefended rook and go with the flow. But little did I know that king d2 exists as a move, and it's not a bad move. First of all, you might be like, well, I don't get to castle anymore. And although that is certainly true, part of it is you can bring your king to safety like this. So even if you don't castle, sometimes there's time to improvise. g3 happened, knight takes g3, saying if takes, I'm going to take that rook. Knight f3, queen to h6, saying I'm making a double threat. I'm going to keep an eye on this e3 pawn. I'm going to keep an eye on this h1 rook. So after rook to g1, I could have easily said I'm going to take on e3. But I don't think I saw that at the time, and I played knight to e4. Knight takes, pawn takes. Now, at this point, I could have also taken on e3, but I still didn't see it. Pawn takes e4, and now, so at this point, I said, well, which pawn should I take it with, right? Because if I take with the d pawn, I was thinking, maybe one day there might be some kind of c4, d5. Well, this sort of logic was me not really thinking about the e3 pawn. So think about it in that perspective. I don't have a target yet to think about, but I sort of, my thoughts sort of stayed on the basis of, my opponent has this opportunity compared to if this pawn takes, there after c4, I'm probably going to play something like c6 and shut down that opportunity. So after knight d2, I finally saw the threat. I said, I'll take that. I'll take that. Bishop out. Instead of, moving the queen somewhere, I could have also moved my queen to g5 to prevent castling queenside. But I said, doesn't matter. I'll give our friend Kat2007 a chance. Bishop d7, castles, and now queen at g5. Bishop d7, now we castle. We're just improving our position now, moving the queen over. Rook to f2, trade queens because we're up a rook, and slowly double up our strategy, and we win the game. So, what can I say? Why did I win the game? Well, to be honest, the opening was okay. I'm not sure about what I would have done after knight to h5 here. I probably would have thought about maybe knight to h3 or knight g to e2 because at this point I would have realized that, the bishop is sort of dead. But at the same time, I felt like Kat2007 did a pretty good approach. But after queen h4, the move to find was king to d2 because after king to d2, if something like knight to g3 happened, well, there would be knight to f3, and all of a sudden, the queen moves back, and there's this move. Why? Check. And after pawn blocks, queen takes queen. So we gotta watch out. Black has to be careful a bit here. So that's why king d2 is very precise, because if it was king d2, this would be a check. So a lot of things happen. Queen to h4, so this is what happened. And to be honest, I did have a few opportunities for taking on e3, but I didn't spot it until later. And slowly but surely, I found my way to the finish line. And that is that. So, hope you learned it, or hope you enjoyed whatever you learned. I hope you find your curiosity, hope you find your happiness, and, with chess, do your puzzles. If you want to improve, take some time out of your day, do some chess. Helps with cognitive functions, helps with a lot of things, but regardless, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.